Hey everybody, what we're going to do today is we're going to actually build something useful and practical. Should be kind of nice because out there are a lot of tutorials on stuff that, aren't really real solutions, or they're building some kind of tiny game that really you don't need. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually start, I came across this earlier in r/programming requests, see if we can zoom in on that. So let's just go over the problem. This is someone else, I don't know who this is, but this is how you actually start building stuff. The only way to learn is to actually build things. So, as title says, I'm looking for someone to make me a program for something to transfer Reddit subs to another account. No coding experience at all, which is why I've come to ask you for your assistance. I'm sure that many people have been in the same boat. Someone was helping me with this, but only got as far as transferring the subs and wouldn't transfer followed users. Any help would be appreciated. Okay, well, we're going to do that any help part. You can see down here, I've already done this solution. Actually, we can visit this tab right now. This is the actual sub, if you want. I mean, the actual repository, if you wanted to go look at it right now, and it'll be there. So, and what we're going to do is I'm pretty much going to walk you through this. We're going to start from the ground up, just so you guys can go through what the process is of how you learn and use all these new tools. So, I know just from my experience that this is probably going to be easy to do with Python. Python's usually typically good about these things, but you can feel free to use whatever kind of flavor of scripting language you want. PHP, I mean, you can use JavaScript. I probably wouldn't recommend it, but a lot of people just have this crazy passion for JavaScript when it doesn't need to be used, and there's easier solutions. And then you can go to another interpreted language like Ruby, for example, and that would also work just as well. So, what we're going to do is we're going to actually start with just a brand new script, just so we can get started here. We're just going to call this Reddit Migrate. And what we're going to do is here, we will open up a command prompt. And let's see. All right. So we go desktop and we cd Reddit Migrate. Okay. So from here, what we want to do is first we want to make sure that Python is installed, and you can do that by going on Python-V, and it shows that I'm running Python 3.7.1. So that's the Python version I'm running. We're going to build this for at least supporting 3.6 and up. If you do not have Python installed, on Mac OS it comes already installed, and there's Python, the command, and there's also Python with the number 3 at the end command. You're going to want to use Python 3. You want to make sure that it's installed the same way you would do Python 3-V. If you don't have Python because you're on Windows, then you just got to go to Python downloads. And you can find it here, and you can get download 3.7.2. Follow the installation instructions. It'll ask you if it wants to add environment variables. You do want that, and then when you run that, you're going to have you'll actually get that. Okay. You're also going to want to make sure that you have pip installed, which obviously I do. If you haven't installed pip, you can also do a similar thing by install pip. Now, Python 3 and above, since 3.4, I believe, pip has already been installed. So if you install Python straight out the box, you should be able to just hit pip, and you'll get all these mess. All right. What is it? CLS? Yeah. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna want to install pip. You want to do pip install user virtual and so mine's already installed. Look at that. But yours is going to have to install if you haven't installed it already or used it anywhere else. So what we're going to do is, since we're already in here, we're going to do Python-M virtual environment, and then this is going to create a directory inside of this folder that is basically, instead of us, whenever we have to install a dependency like requests, for example, or just really anything that we're going to use, instead of installing it to our global Python installation and just taking up room on our computer, we're actually going to install it to a local folder that's inside of this. And so you'll see. And so we're going to call this folder env. And so creating base prefix. Give it a little second. This process can take a little bit of time. And here we can watch this. Oh, look at that. Our folder's already there. All right. You know what? While we're here, we can just go ahead and create a new document. This is gonna be the main. This is gonna be the main script. So we're gonna migrate.py. That's what we're gonna use. All right, cool. Okay, so we're done installing virtual environment, and we already have migrate.py. We're gonna open up Atom in this folder. Actually, Atom is the text editor essentially. I mean, it's an IDE if you want to call it that, but you know, it just basically allows me to edit folders. This is what I'm going to be using. You can use Notepad++. Don't know why you would. Visual Studio Code, you can use that, which is also kind of overkill probably for this small of a project. I mean, you could do it in Notepad. I really don't care. Whatever your preference is, Sublime, Atom, those are the ones that I've always messed with and had experience with. Those are the ones I like. So anyway, what we're going to do is here we're going to have to activate the virtual environment, so any commands we run like Python, pip, or whatever, they're actually going to get executed inside this local folder. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by doing, so this command is going to be slightly different on Mac and Windows. So what I did is I ran this line, this /env scripts activate. You see this prefix right here, env. That means that the virtual environment that we are in, env, is running. And now anything we do inside of this, we can run Python V. You still get the same version. All this stuff is now inside this local folder, which is kind of nice. And it's a good way to keep things clean when you're developing lots of Python scripts, because you really don't want to overcrowd your actual global installation with, you know, every single dependency you've ever used for any project ever. Kind of a bad move. Not best practice, as I guess what the right word would say. If you are on a Mac machine and you're in terminal, you're going to want to do source, and you're going to want to do, I think it's env scripts, or yeah, I think it's bin actually activate. Yeah, it's env bin activate. ATE. There we go. Okay, you would run that, and that would do the same thing. You will still see this. Okay. So anyway, let's just get started. We're gonna pop open the IDE right now, and so first thing we're gonna do is, well, before we get started, we know that we're gonna be interfacing with Reddit. So I've already pulled up the API documentation for Reddit. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, so we have by section. You know, we got all these endpoints that are available to us, every single one of them. It's a lot. It's a lot of endpoints. We also have the rules for the API, which I already opened. These are just some things that you really want to be careful with, because you really don't want to start off on the bad side of Reddit, you know, just trying to do something tricky. Okay, so you know, make sure that they follow all of the API terms, which the API terms are pretty generic. You know, like you have to be registered, you have to follow the rules which you're on, you can't use the Reddit logo, and you may use for Reddit or a client, but you cannot use Reddit you may not use Reddit without for preceding it, and you may not use the word official, obviously, and you know, the intended language, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Okay, one thing that's important though is we want to make sure that, okay, so there's two things here. If we connect through OAuth 2, we get up to 60 requests per minute. It's pretty nice. So 1 a second, pretty good. That's actually really nice. And this one says change your client's user agent string. So user agent string is what the API endpoint is going to see from, so like this is like just, I'm on github.com, and if you go to window.location, I think, no, it's navigator, and so this is just a JavaScript, but you can see my app version. This is a user string. This Chrome, whatever, there's actually the user agent string, Mozilla 5.0, you know, whatever. That's a user agent string. And so basically, the thing to take away here is do not lie about it. That means that you'd be spoofing an actual connection from a regular browser. If they find out about it, they're going to ban your account. So you just want to be careful about these things. And, you know, if you can't find the rules for an API, just be smart about it, you know? I mean, if you wind up getting banned for whatever service you're trying to hit the endpoint of, you probably didn't read the rules. You should have read the rules. So what we're going to do here is, I know that there's a couple things we're going to want to do. I'm going to add a new file in here. I'm going to do a .env file. So .env is a actual type of, I guess it's a way of storing secrets for a script. And so like my login information or the clients that I'm going to create for mine are not going to be the same as yours. So you would use a .env file. We'd have the same variables, but they'd be equal to different values. And I'll show you that. But what we're first going to do is we're first going to do pip install python.env. And what this did is this installed .env in our Reddit Migrate folder. Didn't install it in our global, which is really nice. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do pip install request. Request is a Python library that is a wrapper around URL lib3. You actually see it right there. URL lib3 is a great directory, but sometimes it's not that readable. It's a great library, I'm sorry, but it's not that readable in Python. Request is a great wrapper. For that, makes just, at a higher level, things much, much easier to do. So what we're going to do now is, now that we've got those two, I don't know what other stuff we might use, but we're going to import OS, and then we're going to do from .env import load.env, and then we're going to call load.env. This function, what it does is it grabs whatever values are in this folder, this file, I'm sorry, and imports them into this space so we can use them. So what we're going to do is, we know we have two accounts. So let's actually put like here. I have two Reddit accounts. We want to take the subs from one and import them into the new account. So the new account, we're just for our purposes, it's just going to be empty. But what we're going to do is, we're going to actually have to create authorized whatever you call it, apps for our user. So the way we do that is, you would go to user settings, privacy and security, app authorization, and you see that there's one already here. I will go and I will delete this app just so we can start off all over again. We're going to create another app. We're going to call this, it Reddit Migrate. It's a script. We're going to be migrate subs. And the redirect URL, since we're not actually running a web application, we're just going to do ://reddit.com/some endpoint. Now, some endpoint is not a real URL. It's just an empty space. It doesn't really matter because we're not going to be using it. So we're going to create the app. And look at that. We've got two scripts here. We've got the client ID and the client secret. So what I'm going to do is, we can open up this, and we're going to go, let's see, origin client ID equals origin client secret, and we're going to do origin username and origin pass. I'll do user pass. Let's do that. So client ID is a simple one. We're going to take the client ID. I'm going to put it there. We're going to take the secret, and we're going to put it there. We're going to save it. So what we're going to do is, what a good way to do this would be is, we can just start off with two. Well, no. Here, we'll take my subs. That's me, Rambat1994. And so what we'll do is, that's going to be my username, and my password is going to be whatever I put here. I'll set that somewhere else. Now, here's the thing. We're authorizing this app to perform actions on this account. So we're actually going to need to set up this whole configuration twice. And the way that we're going to do that is, we're going to have a new client ID, which is going to be the app on the second profile. This is going to be the second profile to migrate sub information to. You're going to need a new, pretty much, actually all this, really. You'll need every single one of these over again. But instead of origin, we're going to call this new. And we're going to delete all of this. And so let's see if we can create a new Reddit account. There we go. Control Shift N. Go to Reddit. We're going to sign up. I like I had a big head. Okay. And we'll copy this email. Go to the incognito tab. What in the world? Oh, there we go. Okay. Username. Royal Burger. Let's see. 1. Okay. Password. We're just going to call it Reddit Migrate. I'm going to wait. Okay. We're looking for bridges. What the hell is that? Okay. Here we go. Train this algorithm correctly. I guess that was technically a bridge. A crosswalk. Here we go. Okay. We're good. Must have failed that first one. Alright. So we're Royal Burger 1. Password of Reddit Migrate. We're going to sign up. And we have no subs. Look at that. Nothing. We are totally empty. We already got a message. I wonder who it's from. So we can close that. And so these are my subreddits, just so we can all you know, we got Outrun, Futurology, Life Pro Tips, jokes, you know, that kind of stuff. So we're already in. We already got one profile kind of seeded with data. I didn't know Snoo had abs. Look at that. Anyway, what we can do now is we got this new client ID. What we're going to need to do is we're logged in. User settings, profile and security. This is the account that I want to migrate all my apps to. Are you a developer? Yes, we're going to call it Reddit Migrate. A script. Migrate stuff. And the redirect URL is got to be the same. They should both be the same. Okay. Create. And there we go. We got a new client ID and a new secret. And then we already know this is Royal Burger 1, and we know this is Reddit Migrate. Alright, so this password, I'm going to open it in a different
Now McDonald's helps you find a little joy every day with its 1, 2, 3
because I don't want people to know my Reddit password and it takes forever to type in.
When you have a juicy McDouble,
So
or have some of our small world famous fries for just $1 each. But an offer this good can only last for a limited time. So hurry in
a different
and add a little joy to your day with the 1, 2, $3 menu.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll just do it the annoying way. Do open with. Just do fucking notepad. There we go. Okay, so anyway, I have it open on another screen. You can't see it, but it's gonna get set. And
right now you can get started for free by texting SWEAT to 246-810. There's currently a massive need for personal training.
Okay.
So text SWEAT to 246-810.
Okay, so I have set the file and modified it already. And you know what we'll do from here? Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So anyway, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and see if we can even get connected to the app. So the first way to do that is just to get the token. We need to figure out how do we log in and get an access token, because that's the OAuth 2 thing. This script, thinking about this now, probably won't work if you have two-factor authentication. And the reason I say that is because you will have to enter in your phone number to do that, to log in. Anyway, whatever. That's okay. Like we said, we're trying to help. We're not trying to save these people's lives. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to import all these keys. So the way you get a key from .env is you do get, you got to import OS first, and then you would just do origin client And so what we're going to do is we're just going to import that. Call it ID. And then we're going to do origin. We're going to do the same for new, because we want to make sure we get both the applications in first. So we know we're going to call this variable new. We're going to call this environment variable. This is referencing the env, and it is case sensitive. So, all right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create an origin user. This is the primary account. It's going to be a dictionary or dict, whatever you call it. Just sounds weird when you say it by itself. And then os get env, and we know this is called origin user name. And we're going to get pass. Okay, os get env origin user pass. Okay, cool. These have to become separated. We're going to do the same thing, and we're going to create the new user. And we can. These are all kind of like settings. So this is the new user, and we're just going to change these values. JNew is not it. Okay, new. Okay, so first thing we want to do is see if we can even get authenticated. The way we do that is, let's see, goes OAuth for authentication. Oh, here it is. Look at that. Now, let's see. I'm just looking through this because these are useful. So retrieving the access token. So you do reddit.com/v1 access token. Okay, so I think this is the one, and this, it has to be a post request, grant type authorization code redirect. Yeah, let's look at this, because right now I'm reading about token retrieval because I want to know how this works. I want to know what the right endpoint is to hit, and I'm pretty sure it's this one. It's this one. In order to do so, your app should send the user to the authorization URL. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty sure this is it. We're going to have to send all this data, though. That doesn't seem right. Client ID. That's all in the params too. Let's see what this is all about. I'm pretty sure it's just this. Yeah, in your post data, not part of the URL. I think it's got to be this one. They're both the same root URL. So yeah, we're just gonna have to. Oh no, this is access token. Okay, this is definitely the one we want. It says retrieving the access token. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do is, the first thing we're gonna do is we're probably gonna want to break this into, we already imported requests, right? Yeah, we already installed request. We're gonna need requests for this because we're making post requests. So I think what we're gonna do first is, let's just test this. I'm gonna make some variables for the request, and it's gonna be request auth. I think it's HTTP basic auth. Yeah, pretty sure that's it. We'll know because it's gonna yell at us. We're gonna call this origin client ID and then origin client secret. It doesn't matter what order these go in, by the way, just so you know. So we're going to send some post data with it, and the post data we know is going to be, let's see, grant type authorization. So let's see. Okay, so password for script apps, so includes that you are standard code, other values are not relevant to this flow, refresh token for renewing, and password for scripts at only. Okay, so we're a script app, so our grant type is going to be password. Code your app retrieved above. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're good. Alrighty. So we're going to do grant type. We're going to call it password. And then this would be useless if we don't actually give it the actual parameters that it needs. Password, and this can be origin user password. Cool. Alright, so we got the post data set up, and the headers are just going to be the user agent that this thing is super strict about. And we're just going to call it, let's see, Python, we'll call it 3.7. How do they want it structured? Let's go back a screen. Okay, so we want a platform ID version string. So we want platform app ID. Well, here's an example. Com example my Reddit app. Okay, so yeah, they want something. They just want something. Well, I'm trying to not get banned, so let's just here. We're gonna make a config up here, not a config, but just like a one that we're gonna reuse over and over, and we're gonna make this an F string, which means it's a template string, which means we can put stuff in it. We're gonna call it Python 3.7, and then we're gonna give it client origin client ID, and then we're gonna call it v1.0 because it is a v1.0, and then call it by me. There we go. Okay, so that's going to be our user agent, and we're just going to pass that in. Okay, so now we've got the authorization, which is how we send all, like, how we get this request to even be approved by the Reddit API. We've got the post data, which is just our login information. We've got the headers, which is the user agent string, which is a required field in this API. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually just send the response. We're going to send the request, and we know this is a post request, and we know that the API well, let me actually look here, because the API endpoint, I believe, is 2 different endpoints, right? So there's Reddit/token. Yeah, because we're not authorized yet. Let's see. Just looking through where to get these things. It's all the same. It's all the same kind of information, really. Let's see what this has. Quick start example. Okay, so they send a request to this endpoint to get the token, and then they use OAuth. Notice that for using the tokens, you have to send a request to OAuth, Reddit.com. That's pretty typical. So what we're going to do is we're going to send it there, and then we got to send all the post data that we just created with it. So we're going to send the client auth. These are just arguments that go into a post request. They're pretty typical. If you wanted to know more about them, you can look up the request documentation, but I just know this is how it goes. Just because when you do these things for a while, you learn, and at first you won't know. And we're going to actually reassign this variable, which is kind of bad practice, but try not to confuse people. We can just call it JSON on the end of this, but that might be easier for everyone to understand. There we go. Okay, so what this is going to do, this is going to be a post request with all of our information, and we want JSON. That's what we want back. We want JSON. So what we're going to do is let's just console log response. Let's just see what happens. Oh, console log, what am I doing? This ain't JavaScript. Print. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do Python migrate py. What do we? Oh, I'm dumb. Request, and then actually we got to import request.auth. That's what this is. Otherwise, we'd have to do another call to get to this function. It'd be stupid. It wouldn't be the right move. Let's see what happens. Keyword error, key error, password. Let's see. Line 23. So this is when everything goes haywire, man. Oh, you know why? It's called pass, not password. Try that. Stuff like that, man, will trick you up. Request. Request. Unexpected argument header. Is there? Look at that. so that I know everything. Forget its headers. Look at that. Okay, so we get a token. Wow, fancy. Access token. This access token is only good for an hour, and it wouldn't even matter really if you had it. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna get back, let's see, what's that object look like? It's got a key of access token, token type expires in the scope, and the scope is everywhere. We're just gonna get an access token. That's what we want to get out of the object. So we're actually gonna get print response access token. Cool. We're gonna need to log in for both accounts because we have 2 users, and so at some point we're gonna need to log in for both accounts. This is gonna be best if we take this whole process and put it into a smaller function, or just a function in general. We can define the function in this whole file, but things will definitely get messy. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna create a new file. We're gonna call it helpers.py. So since we're going to be doing all of our HTTP interaction here, we're going to take this, we're going to take all that code, and we're going to do def auth user token. And here we need the client ID, not the new client ID, because this is only variable specific, scope specific variables. Client secret. And then we're going to need the user, which is a dictionary object, which we are aware of. Alright, so what we can do from here is we can actually just return this value. Alright, cool. Now we got the access token. So what we did with this function is we took the process that was this code, and instead of calling it twice or 3 times or however many users we want to try and go through, we're just doing one user to another user. What we actually want to do is we want to put this into a generic function where we can just pass in a user object, which we define here, and you could have a list of user objects if you so desired. I really encourage people to build on this just because, why not? And what we do is basically we're gonna just, instead of doing this, we're gonna ask for the origin access token. Let's just call it, no, we can call it origin access token. And we're gonna call our define function, and we're gonna pass in the origin client ID the same way we expect it in the helper function, which is ID secret user. And so the way we have it here is ID secret, and for this we want the origin user, which is an object. Now we have helpers py. This is in a separate file, so in order for us to even use this file, we actually have to import helpers. Now this isn't a library. This is actually, well, it's pretty obvious. This is a actual file, like another file altogether. And Python is smart, knows that. It finds helpers.py. It will, I think the hierarchy of importing is its file, then it looks in the env scripts, and which is as far as it'll go. And if it's not installed or they can't find it, it'll give you an error. And the way we can test to see if this entire thing works is we just run it. Oh look, auth user isn't, oh that's right, because I'm a dummy. Since we imported helpers and this is a function of helpers, we need to actually call it helpers dot. There you go. And now it will actually call the function, or it should. We'll see. Origin client ID not defined. Oh, you know what? We probably didn't name. Yeah. Remove the specific data from the variables, and look, so we have, instead of having origin user, we're going to want to change that with user. And oh look, we have another variable in here, we'll call it agent. Like, people make mistakes all the time, it's just the way it is. We're going to want to take this, pass it in, and we're going to take agent, which is here, and we're going to pass it there, and everything should be fine. We should get our token back. Yeah, okay, so it succeeded. The whole process succeeded, which means that we're pretty much good right now. We're not done by any means at all. But what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the actual like meat and potatoes of what this entire thing is going to be about, which is, as we can go back to the actual problem. I seem to have deleted it. Or got rid of the tab. There it is. Okay. So the actual problem is transferring the subs, and it wouldn't transfer followed users. We're going to see what happens with that. But either way, it's kind of like the problem statement, I guess. Let's see. Hold on, guys, for 1 second. Okay. Sorry, just looking at something on the other screen. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually figure out how in the world do we get subreddits for a single user. How do we do that? Okay, well, the easiest way is actually just to look at the API. I know, like, you know, it's funny because people always tell you, if you're on Stack Overflow, if you post a question in like a programming Discord, or if you post something on Reddit, people are always quick to say, did you look at the documentation? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I read documentation. I don't. And honestly, most software engineers don't either. They only read it when it becomes irrelevant. Just because I'm going to use the Reddit API, I'm not going to go through and look at API flare list. Oh, what's flare list do? I'm not going to scroll through this entire thing. No, I'm here to get the information that I need right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for anything that has to do with subreddits, because I am looking for subscriptions. I'm looking for subreddits. Look at this. We've got subreddits mine subscriber. I don't know if I want to use that. Let's see if there's one that's maybe well, no, that actually probably is the one. Let's see. Okay, let's see. It's a GET request. That's nice of them to tell us, which they should. It's a API doc. And they got subreddits, mine, and then this is a variable where. It can be subscriber, contributor, moderator, and stream. And this gives you a listing, which is going to be a API-specific return object that they're giving you. And a listing is pretty much pagination. So they're probably only going to give us like, you know, 10 but I'm subbed to like 100 subs, which is actually kind of convenient because that's a nice number. What this is going to do is this is actually going to give us, you know, 20, 15 of them. Who knows how many? We'll see. And it's going to say that there's an after or a before. And what we're going to have to do is if one exists, if there's another page, we now have to resend the query, but with the page number as a parameter. It says that here. The response will contain an after value, which you can pass in the next request. It's a good idea, but not required to send an updated value for count, which should be the number of items already fetched. Well, since it's required, we're going to see how bad that bites us. But anyway, the response will contain an after, and that value, if it exists, is what we need to specify in the next request to get the next page. Otherwise, we're just going to keep asking for the first page over and over and over and over, and it's going to seem like we have infinite subreddit subscriptions, but we both know that isn't true. So what we can do now is we have this token. What we're probably going to want to do is kind of get the subreddits. You know, we'll get the, let's just we'll call this subs, and we're gonna make this equal to a new function in helpers, because we don't want to keep polluting. Did I spell subreddits? Okay, and we have to pass in this access token because we need it. And because once you're off, you have to keep using it over and over and over. Now, keep in mind, this is only the origin account's access token, not the new user account's access token. So, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have a new function, and what do we call it? Get subreddits? Okay. Yeah. So, and we got the access token here. And as always, put colon. Alright, cool. So this function, what we need to do is we need to get we want to return the subreddits subscribed. And turn that upside down. Okay. Want to have it be just an empty list. He's also worried about transferring followed users. So we're just going to put friends, because I'm pretty sure that's what he means. That's going to be it. And yeah, let's just see if we can even get one, get the first page. So headers, and I think it's author. This is just so we can go back to this. This is a GET request. So a GET request, it's really not like there's a couple different types of things you can put in the header of GET request, and it's like content type, authorization, user agent. Those are just a couple of them. The ones that we're going to use are authorization, THORIZA, authorization, and we know that, and this is the way that you specify tokens in an authorization. So you know that, so the API can check, see if this token is valid, and if the token is valid, give you actually the data you're asking for. There's a thing called a bearer. That's the type of authorization that we're using, and we got the access token. So this F again, this F is not a typo. It is string templating. It's been available since I think 3.6, I think, Python. So if you're trying to do this on 2.7, you're gonna run into an issue with these F strings. F strings are the way I like to do them. They used to have, you can still do the where you add a % sign and then you do a comma and then you do the variable, or it's like %s for string, and then you can do that. You can also do that here. I'm not, because I just much prefer this version of string templating. There is no rhyme or reason to why I prefer it. I just do. You know what? Look, we're gonna need our agent again. And just because I did that, I have to make sure that I add it here. Okay, so we got the headers, and let's get a response. We're gonna do request, and we're gonna do a GET request. We're gonna send it to, now we have to send it, like I said before, this URL. We're authed. So we're not using this URL anymore. This is requesting a token, and it's only for requesting a token. The documentation says that if we want to use the token, we have to use OAuth, this subdomain of Reddit. Do that. So we'll do another template string, and what we'll do, actually we don't need a template string here. Okay. And then the endpoint that we're trying to hit is subreddit mine subscriber, because this is going to return all of the subs that this account, the token, the one that we're using the token for, are sub to. So that's what we'll do. Look at that. And what we also want to do is we want to say headers this time, not make that mistake again. And that's the response. Okay. Let's just print response, and let's see what absolute mess we get into this time. So name access token is not defined. Access token origin access token. You gotta be careful with that. Gets me often, but that's okay. So we got a 200 response. That's awesome, but why didn't it just give us the data? We can try, I think it's body? No, JSON. Oh wow, look at all this stuff. This response is huge. Holy heck. Okay. Where'd we go? There we go. Okay. That response is absolutely massive. How can we work with this? I know what we can do. This is so useful. It's going to seem like a mess at first, but trust me, this is way easier. Let me just scroll like this. I hope we didn't go too far. Wow, it's going to take a while. Oh my lord, I think we went too far. Yeah, there's no way that this is correct. Okay. Okay. I think what we can do is just do here. We're just gonna pipe this to a file. Python file write. let's see, open, we gotta do W. Okay, just to get this under control. And we're gonna call this JSON. We're gonna write it, and we're gonna write this data to it. And let's see if this works. Must be a string, not a dictionary. This is not the way you want to do things, people, but this is just so I can show you what the response looks like, because they don't give us a actual, I think text is probably the best way to do this then. Let's see, delete.
You know that feeling when you desperately want to hear that song?
You know what?
The one that's been rattling around in your brain for days? The one with the catchy lyrics about love.
You do dump it. We'll dump it. I think you have to import JSON for this. Oh.
Spotify Premium, you can leave shuffle behind and play any song you want, including that one, anytime you like. Tap the banner to learn more.
Do we actually pipe the result? No. Why doesn't? Let's see. Okay, well, this is what we're having. Dumps. It's dumps. That's why. Okay, here it is. The giant file. We're gonna immediately go to JSON pretty print. Oh, didn't need Python. I Google a lot of stuff. And we're gonna make it pretty. And we want to go to plain JSON. There's got to be a better way to view this. Let's see. Yeah, there's got to be a better way to view this because this is a mess. Beautify. Okay. So it looks like, okay, so we get a children. So this is pretty much what it looks like. We get a listing. We know what kind it is. We get data object, and look, there's that after key that we've been looking for. And each child is, okay, so it's a T5. That means something. I'm sure there's in the documentation. It probably tells you exactly what a T5 is. Probably is just like some prefix. Banner essay. Okay, so what are we looking at? What community is this? Programming. r/programming. How funny. Okay. So let's see. We've got a couple things. We've got a title, just programming. We've got a display name prefix. We're just looking through one audit. Look at this. This name. This is what we need. This unique name, because you can have r/programming and then have another, I guess, r/programming. Either way, Reddit isn't sorting Reddits by their name. It's sorting them by an ID, which is the smart way to do things. There is actually probably a place where it tells you, where you get a single subreddit. Here we go. Is a listing. We already know about listings. Either way, I can tell you right now that it is definitely this name. If it turns out to not be, then whatever, I'll just be wrong. But actually, it's probably best to leave this open just so everybody can get an idea. So it says dist. I'm sure that means distribution, because there's 25 children and there's 25 in this number. So, but either way, this is the next page. If this were to be a button, it would be the next button. If we were showing the list, it showed 25. We'd click next, and it'd bring us another 25, and then we'd have a before and an after. So what we're gonna do is we can actually rename this. Well, we don't have to rename this. We can just delete it because we know what it looks like. We'll keep it for now. Okay. So now that we know what the response object looks like, because there was no way for us to know previously, so this is where we get to the real crux of an issue. We are going to be able to get subs. So we know that this guy right here, .json, this gives us a JSON object. So let's say that all of our subs, just our subs, just the first page is the response, and then we jump into the data object, and then we jump into the children. and this should give us 25. So we have now an array of children, because if you look at the object, oh, wrong page. If you look at the object, you can see that these brackets, an array, oh look at that, it tells us on tooltip, array containing 25 items. Okay, so we know it's an array. Well, they call that a list in Python, and that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to have for subreddit in subs, we're just going to print, let's see what each child looks like, because we can get into something hairy here. So we have children. The first child has a data object again, and then all of its information is stored inside the data. So we want to probably do subreddit data, and then what was it called? It's a name, right? Name, yeah. And then we can do display name. That was one of the attributes I saw. Excuse me. Okay. Look at that. We get the ID and we get the name. This one, this one. A New Orleans, hey. Okay. Sometimes I sub to that city. Okay, anyway, you can see all this. Man, this is more revealing about myself than I think a therapist ever would be. All right. The problem is that, let's just go through this. Let's see, we're going through subs. So we want to get out of this for loop and say, actually, let's do has next maybe, or has remaining subs, which means there's another page. At first, we're going to make it equal to true. So I'm going to build this, and I'm just going to show you guys what I'm doing. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just, at this point, let me think about how to best phrase this. These go up here. Okay, so what I'm doing is this has remaining subs. This is going to determine if we are still looking for subs. This next page is going to be the ID of the next page for more results. So what we got to do is we got to break this whole thing into pretty much what the best way is probably a while loop. So because this gives us one page. That's all this does. It gives us one page. If we have to go to the next page, we'd have to do if response data next is not equal to none. This, because it'll be null, which is none in Python. So if it's equal to anything, then we need to hit that URL. And so this is where things are going to get a little complicated, but we're going to walk through it slowly. And if anyone has questions, you can leave a comment. I mean, right now we're streaming, so yeah, look, that guy was helping me actually. Thank you. Anyway, we're going to be streaming right now, and so you'll kind of see how we work with this. And then if you don't understand what's going on, you can leave a comment. I'm looking at the Twitch stream now, and on YouTube, this will be on YouTube later, and you can just leave a comment there, and I'll do my best. You know, I'm only one guy. So anyway, we need to put this in a while loop to keep getting information, because if we don't keep getting where our subs are, we're never going to know how many pages we have left, and we're also not going to know what link to be hitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say while has remaining subs, which is true. So this loop is going to execute the first time we reach it. It's going to execute because this is true, and we're determining it's going to be true. That means we cannot forget to leave a condition that makes it false. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck in this loop, and your computer will catch on fire, or something bad will happen. Who knows? And what we're going to do is this header, we're going to be crafting a new request each time. So we're going to want a new header, we're going to want a new response, and then really we're just going to want to indent all this, because we all know Python is white space sensitive. So subs is going to be equal to the child of whatever the response was, which we know is the children, I'm sorry, whatever the response was, which is a list of what it seems like to be default at 25. All right, and then we're going to loop through every single child, and we really just want the name. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to just do sub Reddit subscribed and append. There we go. And so this is going to take the name, the unique identifier of every subreddit, push it into this list, and then by the end we should have a huge list, 100 long, because I know how many subs I'm in, 100 long of every single unique identifier that we're going to be in. If we wanted to say, you know, saving, if you wanted to put like a print line here and do like saving something, you know, saving, and then show display name, you'll get the actual human readable name, but we're not really worried about that. All right, now this is where things get a little tricky, because we're doing the for loop right now, and we want to have a way to break it, and we also want to have a way to send a new unique request, because this request right here will only give us the first page over and over and over and over and over, which is not what we want. We want to go first page, second page, third page, to the nth page and have it done. So what we need to do is we need to break out of this loop. So we need to have an if condition that if the response data and then after, which is that key that contains the page, if it is not equal to null or none, then what we're going to do is we're going to try and catch that. We're going to catch that guy by doing print, and we're going to do a template string again. We're going to do fetching next page, and we're just going to call it this guy, this variable. This is the page that we're trying to catch. Okay. And then next page, which is going to be the ID of the next page for more results, is going to be equal to that. There we go. Now, if it is empty, which is the only other condition that can ever exist, we're going to say has remaining subs is equal to false. This is going to break us out of our entire while loop, which we definitely need to do. And what we'll do is I'll just do a print subreddit subscribed right here, just so, and we'll just return this right here. Okay, cool. All right, so we can try and run, oh no we can't, because we haven't done anything yet. So what we need to do is, in the API documentation for this, you get a listing and you have to specify it on the next kind of the next, like, where's the listing? Let's go to the actual listing documentation. Okay, you have to specify the after value. You can pass it in on the next request. So it's got to be a key named after, and this is a get request. So that means we can just encode it as a URL parameter and just go next equals next page. There we go. Or no, I'm sorry. I keep saying the word next. After, because that's the key. That's the name of the key. So we're going to do after, and we're going to send in the next page. And since we're doing a templating string, let's add an F right there. We already know. What we might want to do is actually break this into like a template of a template, because if nothing is specified, like the first time we send this request where next page is equal to null, we don't want to like cause any problems by having a parameter that's just for nothing. But you know what? Let's live life dangerously and see what happens. So we should get a bunch of prints that say fetching next, fetching next, fetching next, and then we should get the answer to all of our problems. Oh, look at that. We're getting new pages, and then here's our list. Wow. Look at that. Cool. So this is all unique subs that I'm sub to, my primary account, the one I'm trying to transfer information to. And these are all the pages that we had to go. We had to go, 4 pages? Which makes sense because it's 25 per page, and I know I'm sub to 100, so I'm not very good at the maths, but there you go. So actually, we know this is working, which is actually kind of nice. The friends thing is going to be kind of difficult, because if you're friends with someone on Reddit, it doesn't actually mean you're subscribed to them, because let's just print the name of a subreddit, because I think they show up as a user instead of an actual subreddit, because you got like r/jokes or whatever, but this will be like r/ and then a username. Let's just do it again. It doesn't hurt anything. So let's see. This is the next page. I'm not subbed to really many people. That's why this is kind of a problem. Oh, here's a person. Okay, so I'm subbed to this user right here. Okay, and what I need to do is I need to make sure whatever ID they might be in this entire thing, I want to make sure that I capture that. And because we're going off of a display name here, this could get a little sticky. But really, what we want to do is all usernames in Reddit are all the username subs are u underscore. But really, let's just look for subs with that name. So we'll call it subname is equal to that, and then we'll do sub ID is equal to that. This is called display name. There we go. And I want to say if u underscore is in subname, which this sounds exactly like what you think it does. This is basically going to check if this string is a substring of this string, which it will be. This is probably prone to failure, but you know, we're just trying to build this for some guy on Reddit for totally free, so we're not trying, you know, future-proof this entire thing. We're going to want to do sub ID here. This is going to populate this list. You know, if there was a subreddit that has a what am I doing? Putting parentheses around this? Oh no, I think you can put parentheses. Yeah, you can put. I mean, yeah, whatever. Let's just not, because we're doing everything else that way. If there is like another one that's like, ah, God, who knows, a subreddit called like outrun underscore fast. You know, I don't know. If it's just spelled that way, if it has a u/underscore in it, it's going to find it. And that's going to be unfortunate, but, you know, nothing free. You know, you get good, cheap, fast, and good, cheap, and fast. Pick two. So, you know, if he wants it more robust, he can pay for it. Anyway, and that is how you hustle, everybody. So we got the friend subscribed, and we've got the subreddit subscribed. We need to return both of these, really. So we can return it actually as two objects at once. Actually, let's do subreddit subscribed. So we can actually return both these objects at the same time, and probably leave space right there. We can actually return both these objects at the same time, and the way we can do it is we can just call it. We can do subs, comma friends. And then we can do, and I'll show you that works, because you do print subs and print friends. These variables weren't instantiated or anything. This is their instantiation and their assignment all in one. If this fails, it'll probably fail spectacularly. So look at that. We're getting our pages. Boom. And look at that. We got two arrays actually. You notice because there's brackets. So this is our subs. This is our users. A total count of both of these is 101 because I have 100 subreddits that I'm sub to, and I have one user that I'm sub to. Okay, aren't they special? All right, so that's pretty much what we got for helpers get subreddits, which is like hell. That wasn't too bad. You want to know the best part about this though is because we've been writing things in kind of usable fragments in this helpers file. The next step is going to be subscribe new user to subs. Well, guess what? We've already got the subs. We've already got the friends. We already know who these people are, and we already got their unique IDs. So let's just get the new access token, new user access token, because otherwise it's just going to seem kind of redundant. And guess what we can do? Take this, have it equal to that, and then instead of origin, new, because we already have it defined here. There we go. And let's see if we get that new token. Let's see if we get that new token now. So we're going to be printing out a lot of stuff, but that's okay. New client secret. Did I spell it wrong or something? Oh, that's why there's an N there for some reason. I got a space too. Noon W. What the heck happened there? Anyway, look at that. Wow, we got our access token already because we were smart and ahead of time we built these functions separate at this file. Imagine if this was all just in here already, assigned to some variable. This would not look clean. It would look a mess. And even the way I did it is probably not that great. There is always a way to improve upon something, make something faster. There's always someone better than me out there, and I know that. And you know what? They're probably going to watch this channel and laugh at me. And you know what? That's okay, because I'm just trying to get people started, and that's really what we're all here for. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to do the thing that this guy's asking for, which is automatically subscribing the new account to all the subs. So we can see right here, this is the new Reddit account that I made. We're on Royal Burger 1. Okay, we got a message. Oh, look at that. Okay, cool. Thanks, admin. All right, we have no subs. We're just the most boring person on the planet. We have zero interest. Worst person to go on a date on ever with ever. What we got to do now is let's look through. Well, actually, we already know where it is, because when we looked at subreddits mine/subscriber, it says see also API. Okay, well, let's check that out. Subscribe to or unsubscribe from a subreddit. To subscribe, the action is sub. Unsubscribe, unsub. Skip initial defaults can be set to true to prevent automatically subscribing to users to the current set of defaults. Okay, that's fine. And attempting to set it for an unsubscribe action will result in an error. Probably a good thing to know. SR name, comma separated list. Look at that, we already got one going on of full names, which the full name is probably full names. Full name is a combination of things. It is a unique ID, which we've been doing this entire time. For example, T3, whatever, or T5. So we're good. We're looking good. And that's pretty much it. Oh, look at that. It tells you T5 is a subreddit. That's cool to know. Which is interesting because we know this is a user and it's also a subreddit. Anyway, we know that this is going to be the API we need. It's a post request. We've already done a post request. We don't need this anymore, and don't need that anymore because we're way ahead of that. And I'm just going to delete this. Move to trash. Okay. So really, what we need to do is we don't even need to return anything for this function. We're going to make a new helper function. We're going to call it subscribe. Subscribe to subs. And what we're going to need is the new user's access token, because we don't want to subscribe the origin user to stuff he's already subbed to. It won't unsubscribe him, but yeah, it's that's pretty much it. Just subs. Yeah, whatever. This is just a list, so we're just going to pass that in. And let's see, we can minify this function now. Okay. And we'll do def, and we'll do subscribe to subs, and we've got an access token, and we've got the, what was it? The sub list. Call it sub list, which we know is a list because it's actually a list. So what we can do is we're going to need to do another post request. So we don't need to authenticate, but we do need to post. So if we're going to do that, we're going to need headers, and we're going to need, you know what we're going to need? We're going to need these headers. Okay, we're going to need those headers because we have to get the access token. Oh, we need our agent. Can't forget him, otherwise Reddit will get mad and ban our account. There we go. All right. So now we've got that, we need to actually have post data, which we don't do here, but we do it here. So we're going to take this simple kind of structure, post data, and we're going to space these guys out for readability. And we're going to go to the API, and we have a couple things: action, skip initial defaults, and SR. If you give it SR as a parameter, you can send a comma separated list when using the SR parameter, or of subreddit names when using the SR name. So actually we chose token, But right now, if you had just a list of straight up names, you could pass those in, which is actually kind of cool, because that means that if you wanted to show a bunch of human readable names, you can just do, you know, SR name instead of SR. Because we have unique IDs, we're going to go with SR, just so everybody is on the same page. So we got action, skip, initial defaults, I think, right? Is it skipping? Where's that page? Yeah, skip initial defaults. And we're going to set this equal to true because we don't want to auto sub them to more than what they asked for. And this is going to be sub. And then the last one is SR, right? So this needs to be a comma separated list, not a list with brackets. So what we want to do is we want to take a comma and we want to join sub list. What this is going to do is this is going to take the entire array, remove the brackets, and you know what? Let's just show you. Post data, and we'll do SR. And what you're going to see is just a list of a string of comma separated values, not an array or a list, just comma separated values, straight up string. Okay, and this actually makes it a string because this coerces it into that variable type. Now, what we need to do here is we need to do our post request. So I'll just take that here because this is it's also a post. But we're going to OAuth because remember we have a token, and the API endpoint that we're looking to hit is just API/subscribe. So let's hit that. We're gonna take that guy. API/subscribe. We don't have to authenticate because we're already authenticated because we have a cool little token. We do have some post data, which is the stuff we need to do, and we do have some headers because we need to show that we're authorized and we want to show our user agent string. We want to get this returned in a not a JSON really, because it's not. I don't know what it's going to return. Who knows? Anyway, let's just print response, right? And we are calling the function to subscribe to new sub. So let's just print, see what we get. If we get a response code, that'd be nice. All right, so we get an exception occurred. No exception occurred. Max entries exceeded with API/subscribe. OAuth doesn't match any of these subdomains. What the heck is the? Did I paste in the wrong? Oh. I don't know what I had in that field before because I deleted it. Let's see. HTTPS OAuth. Oh, it's just OAuth. www doesn't apply. Okay. Let's see. Response code of 200. Ain't that something? So, you know what? Oh shit. I think we just executed our function. Let's refresh the page. Look at that. We got all of our subs. Instagram Reality, great one. Not repping them though. Look at that. We're subbed and we are on the new account. So just so to stop. Okay, we know that an action is unsub, and we know that if we are specify initial defaults when attempting to unsubscribe, it will give us an error. So just to start off on a clean slate again, let's just comment that out, and let's just run the function again. And we should wind up on the new account with a totally empty subreddit. Yeah, look at that. Okay, we're back to boring old no friends guy. Okay, cool. So we know that this works actually really well. So there we go, sub. So we're doing it. We're subscribing, but the problem is that we really want to make sure that we don't, automatically return true. We want to let the user know something happened. It's just good design, So there's a thing you can do with requests where you can get the status code. If you don't know much about status codes, they're all pretty much everywhere you go dealing with any API. You're always going to get the same status codes. You can Wikipedia them. There's hundreds of them. I'm sure you're familiar with with maybe three basic ones. 200, which means everything's okay for the most part. Then there's 500, which is there's an internal server error, and then 404, page not found. Everybody knows that. So requests has their own little library of OK codes, and so if whatever we get back as a status code fits in that, we're gonna print, and we're gonna say new user is subscribed. New user account is now subscribed to all Origin subreddits. What the hell is playing on Spotify right now? Holy shit, this sounds horrible. Okay, anyway, and if we get anything else, then we're going to say an error occurred. An error occurred. And you know what? We'll actually specify it here. Here we go again, templating strings. And we're going to do response status code. So just so we know what status code we get. An error occurred, response status code. New user auto sub failed. There we go. And then since we're done here, we can just return true if you like. This last line isn't really necessary, but this pretty much does it. We don't have to do a loop over every single sub because, lucky for us, Reddit provides a comma-separated list that we can put in, and so we don't have to hit the API endpoint 101 times, or 100 actually, because we're only sending in subs, not the friends right now. So if that's the case, then like we're good to go. So we probably, just for like utility reasons, just to clean stuff up, we're going to want to unsubscribe to subs, where you can pass in a sub list, and then we're just going to do unsub, which we know is an action, X that out, and then say new user account is now unsubscribed from all Origin subreddits. In error occurred, Origin auto unsub failed. Look at that. We just wrote a whole function in like 4 lines. So what we're going to want to do is, right now we're doing the subs. We want to do this again and type in friends, and let's run it. And so, waiting for it. Now subscribe to all Origin subreddits. We refresh this bad boy. Look at that. We got our subs. And look, we got a profile here. That's the person we're following. Okay, so we know that the friends worked. Look at that. Big thumbs up for us. But let's say I hate my own decisions. I'm gonna unsubscribe from all these things just to make sure the other function works. We should wind up with a totally bare bones empty profile. That's it. And look, we're now unsubscribed from all Origin subreddits because we called unsubscribe to subs, which is a different function in the helpers files, two ones. They almost perform the same thing. You can condense this into one function, and I highly recommend that you toy with it and figure out how to do it. The way I suggest is maybe passing in an additional parameter of sub or unsub, and then crafting different post data depending on if sub is true. Because if you're unsub and you still have this in your request, the request will fail according to the API documentation. So figure out a way to condense those two functions. I really encourage that. But just in the meantime, just to flaunt with what we got. Oh, look at that, man. We're back to boring old guy. Okay, well, let's see. Let's subscribe again. Python migrate. Looping through our pages. And we're now subscribed to the all Origin account. Maybe we should probably put account in that Origin account subreddits. There we go. And there we go. And if we refresh the page, look at that. We got all of our subs back. But let's say we want to go back to a clean slate. I mean, you guys get where I'm going with this, okay? I think we all understand these things. So we gotta get all of our subs so we know what to remove. And refresh. And we're done. Okay, so that is pretty much in a gist Oh, there is something that you're going to want to tell users to do, and that's to remove this application. But I think it was Reddit migrate, and I understand. Yeah, deactivate. Boom. Okay, account no longer exists. All right. So the one thing you're going to want to tell people to do is go to user settings, go to app authorization if they're trying to run this, because we still have the app here. You're going to want to delete it after you're done using it, just so it doesn't, stick around. So there we go. Because we're not in the business of keeping trash on people's profiles. Anyway, so that is pretty much in a nutshell. We've done it. That's not even in a nutshell. That's the whole tree. That's the whole tree. Do nuts grow on trees? Who knows? Anyway, I'm sure certain types do. This is. I'm gonna put all of this code on GitHub. It's actually on GitHub already. I know it's like technically cheating, but I wrote it the first time too, and I wanted to show people kind of just the process of the way I went about doing it. You go to my GitHub account, Reddit Migrate. If you don't have a GitHub account, if you want to get into programming, I highly recommend GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab, any of those. I have GitHub just because I always have, and now they have unlimited private repositories, so there you go. But I wrote this whole README, which, I mean, if you watch the stream or watch the video, you already know what's going to be in here, but that is the entire kind of script. And so you can see that we messaged this guy and told him, hey, we were finished your script, and sent it to him, and he said thanks. So I guess we're gonna just assume that he'll be able to work it out. He said he had no programming experience, and if you watched from the beginning of the video, we kind of went through how to do everything, installing the software, and just setting up the entire process. And all he would have to do is just set it up and run the code. Once he sets up his env file, he'll be fine. And inside the env is, again, these keys, origin username, origin pass, all that stuff. Yeah, that's it. So I want to just thank everybody for watching it. I mean, I really hope you enjoyed the stream. And as stuff comes up on Reddit or on this programming Discord I'm part of, people always have little issues. If it's something that I think really would benefit everybody, regardless of whatever the language is, I'll definitely be starting more streams and uploading more videos just so people can see what it's like. I'm a real software engineer. I have a job doing that, and I don't know everything. I'm not going to pretend like I do. And some people, they're just scared that they just all this information they need to know it right off the bat. And the truth is, you don't. You just need to know what to look for. And that's really one of the strongest soft skills that you can have as a software engineer or any kind of solutions-oriented programmer. So anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed that. I hope that you got something out of it. And like I said, if you don't, then if you don't understand anything, please, you can inbox me. You can leave a comment on the video, leave a comment in the stream, whatever it is. Let me know, and we can work it out. And I'll do my best. Thank you guys, and I'll be back with another video whenever it happens. So if you subscribe, you'll get to know when it happens. All right, y'all have a good one.